5 months after the disputed Kawempe North by-election, the ghosts of low voter turnout linger on. In those elections, out of approximately 200 registered voters, a paltry 28,000 or just 14% turned up on polling day, according to the Electoral Commission. It can be argued that there was a climate of fear in the Kawempe polls, and the memories are still fresh of a motley gang of masked security personnel attached to the Joint Anti-Terrorism Task Force, JAT, brutalizing opposition supporters and journalists, and armored personnel carrier trucks menacing through police stations. However, the just concluded ruling NRM party internal elections for MPs and local government, both around Greater Kampala and upcountry, have been marked by visibly low voter turnout, a pattern that could be a writing on the wall. This is not new in Uganda's electoral history. In the Omoro County by-election of May 2022, only 17,454 out of 38,638 voters participated, representing 45.2%. The Oyam North by-election of July 2023 recorded a 35.2% turnout, while the Dokolo District by-election of March 2024 saw 49.3%. Even national polls have faced similar challenges. Since 2001, EC data shows a gradual decline in participation. The 2021 presidential election saw 11 million of the 18 million registered voters casting ballots, 57% turnout down from 63% in 2026. The 2011 and 2006 elections recorded 59.9% and 69.19% respectively. Analysts now ask, what could happen if all 22 million registered voters turn up for the 2026 general elections? Can robust civic education reverse this downward trend? Civil society actors warn that ignorance among voters is deepening. Many do not know when elections are held, how to vote, or the positions up for grabs.
The voter does not know when to vote, how to participate, and which slots are available. There are slots at the district level for people to participate. People who failed in the NRM primaries, for example, could participate at local government level. And this nomination is going to happen on 27th of August for local government in accordance with Section 102. But we don't have that information anywhere. Does a Ugandan, an ordinary voter, know that to obstruct a voter, for example, at a polling station is contrary to Section 90 of the Parliamentary Elections Act? Very few people know it. But if it happens and the military has obstructed you, you can go to court and say, I was obstructed by the military at the polling station, contrary to sections of the law, and so I want that election nullified.
People generally don't understand why they have to elect. That is why we increasingly see that the voter turnout is increasingly going down. But also the recent elections, or the past, especially the 2021 general elections, and then the re-election cycles in the different regions of the country, but most recently the Kawempe North elections was met by a lot of violence from the security forces. Of course, there were accusations that there were violence from the army, violence from the police, which really discourage people from participating in elections, because people sometimes feel that they have to going to voting and participating in elections, be it on the campaign trail or the voting day itself, is quite risky to their lives and to society generally. So in order for people not to expose themselves, they would rather stay away from the elections.
They also point to the monetization of politics, where short-term benefits overshadow the long-term value of voting, leaving citizens disillusioned about change through the ballot.
You realize that actually they just concluded primaries, especially NRM, were very highly monetized. There's a lot of use of money, but also saw a lot of voter bribery, which was open. And therefore, and so most times the leaders that actually give money that are transactional are not responsible. They will not actually offer, they will not effective leadership to the citizens.
Now it is a few months to elections. People are looking at the quick benefits like money, sugar, soap, a handout of 5,000. But if it had started like 2-3 years ago, people would really generally understand that this is why we vote. We vote to bring about change. We vote to bring into power people that are going to represent our views and our interests, and people who are going to go to the government and lobby for the services that we need, or what we call the political goods, like good roads, better education, better health facilities, probably lobby for government to create more employment opportunities. But if it's a few months to elections, I don't see how the civic education is going to bring a turnaround.
While the Electoral Commission is mandated to lead voter education, civil society organizations are often brought on board to complement this work. Yet tensions persist. Civil society space has been shrinking, with government-CSO relations often marked by mistrust.
The relationship between government and civil society across actually, especially across much of sub-Saharan Africa, has always been that characterized by suspicion, where the incumbent governments always suspect civil society could be championing the interests of foreign interests, and because of the financing. But I think in our country, government gets money from donors and civil society gets money from donors, almost the same source. I certainly, yes, it is the responsibility of government to protect the sovereignty of a country and the territorial integrity of the country. It would not be good, of course, for money from bad sources to be used to conduct civic education. And the kind of money that I'm talking about, for example, to terrorism, there's certainly money for terrorism, money for that is coming from, for example, from drug trafficking, and that could be bad money. But I think most of the donors that we have that fund civil society have signed cooperation agreements with the government of Uganda.
Adding to the challenge, donor funding cuts, starting with the winding of democratic governance facility in the run-up to the 2021 polls and the dismantling of USAID earlier this year, have crippled many civic education initiatives, limiting outreach and awareness campaigns.
We used to get donor funding to carry out this very critical role of civic and voter education. But now there is hardly any donor who wants to fund because they've been branded as foreign agents that want to pull down the government. Some of these donors were not necessarily foreign agents who wanted to pull down the government. Definitely there must have been some bad apples. But because there were bad apples doesn't mean there were no good apples. Good work was done when we did votability, count your vote counts, when we did Topowa. All those were voter mobilization campaigns because of the voter apathy levels you talked about. For Kawempe, the voter apathy level was 14.4%. There were 199,000 voters on the register. Only 28,000 voted, meaning 14.4% of the voters are what voted. That worries someone.
Without a renewed commitment to civic engagement, observers fear Uganda's 2026 polls may see an ever steeper drop in voter participation. Inclusive civic education fosters democratic resilience and meaningful participation in democratic life. It is now upon political parties and policymakers to explore strategies that address voter apathy and engage different demographics more effectively. David Ijjo, NTV.